Welcome back to Botanical Interests. My name is Shannie McCabe, and I am here in my Central Florida Zone 9B garden, and today it is 109 degrees Fahrenheit with the real feel. We are in the middle of a major heat wave right now, and so today we're going to do a heat wave tour of my Florida garden. We are going to check out some of the crops that are absolutely thriving even when the temperatures become punishing and dangerous. This video is going to serve as a framework for anyone who is growing in the Deep South or is experiencing extremely hot summer temperatures and is looking to build a list of some of the most bulletproof heat and humidity loving crops. This is the video for you. We are just going to get sort of a first-hand look at what it's like to really grow in the peak of a Florida summer and what you can actually predictably expect from your garden when the temperatures are really, really sky high. All right, let's get started in the shade of my cattle panel trellis here under my bitter melon vine. Bitter melon is one of the most heat-tolerant crops you can possibly grow. They make these beautiful climbing vines, plenty of foliage to provide shade so you can hide under your bitter melon vine nicely. Bitter melon is native to South Asia. It's very popular across a range of equatorial regions. Anywhere that it gets blisteringly hot, usually you will find bitter melon on the menu and in your garden. Bitter melon is true to its name. This is an incredibly bitter vegetable, but that bitter flavor actually comes with the presence of some really, really nutritious compounds that have been shown to have some really incredible health benefits. So do a little of your own research on the health benefits of bitter melon. You may learn to love that bitter flavor and to really harness this incredibly healthful fruit. And even if you don't grow it for eating, they're so cool looking. I mean, look at this thing, it's amazing. This is a special variety, a special heirloom variety that turns white and is a bit of a more round shape, but there are actually a large range of shapes and sizes with bitter melon. Most of them are green. This is the only white one that I've ever seen. Bitter melon is an excellent choice for a cattle panel trellis, providing lots of shade and lots of nutritious fruit, and if anything, really beautiful, something beautiful to look at. Another incredibly bulletproof, heat tolerant, humidity tolerant, pest and disease, pretty much non-existent pest and disease pressure on this one. This is butterfly pea. These make incredible electrifying blue flowers. This is a single type, but there's also double flowering butterfly pea. There's also white and light blue and lavender, purple colored. So there's a range of colors you can find. I honestly love the traditional blue type because it makes a really beautiful blue tea. It's actually about the color of my shirt. It's like a true glacial blue. This one actually has stronger soothing properties than a cup of chamomile tea. So it's an incredibly relaxing cup of tea to drink at the end of the day. And it's also rich in antioxidants. There's a slew of health benefits associated with butterfly pea. I highly recommend you do some research and learn about it. Growing it is a snap. It's actually a true legume, so it can take nitrogen from the atmosphere and make it available in your soil. So it actually improves your soil. It covers a cattle panel trellis or an archway trellis or a fence line beautifully with nice foliage and plenty of these prolific purple blue blooms. So there's pretty much no reason not to plant butterfly pea, especially if you have hot summers. They just sail right through the hottest part of the summer. This butterfly pea is going to be completely unaffected by my Florida summertime heat, and that's really saying something because we're in the triple digits often here. So it's a real winner. This one's also been studied by the University of Florida, has not been found to become invasive. That's a really important distinction. When you're growing in Florida, you want something that grows good, but not too good, if you know what I mean. You don't want something that's going to become invasive. And butterfly pea has been extensively studied because they're very interested in the commercial potential of butterfly pea for this state. And it's been determined that this is not something that's going to become rogue and start to become invasive everywhere. So it's a safe choice. It's a beautiful choice. It's just one of my favorites. I don't ever go a single summer without growing plenty of butterfly pea. Next on my list are zinnias. Zinnias are definitely my #1 choice for a mid-summer cut flower option. I like to be able to come out with my daughter to the yard in the early mornings, strip the leaves and cut the long stems and have a cut flower for my house. And this is the perfect choice. Zinnias can take insane amounts of heat, humidity, pest pressure. They're pretty much bulletproof in the summer in Florida, and many flowers are far too delicate for our summers here. Zinnias are an outlier in that way. They've got these glorious long stems, especially if you find a nice cutting variety. Botanical Interest has an extensive list of zinnia varieties. Zinnias they are easy peasy if you are gardening with kids or you're a beginner gardener. I highly recommend throwing some zinnia seeds in the ground because they basically grow themselves. I have consistently neglected to water this bed, and my zinnias are perfectly happy here. So this is a top choice. If you need a bulletproof, easy peasy cutting flower, you can snip these and arrange them in your house in the cool shade and comfort of your air conditioning, and you still feel like you're getting a little nature action even in the peak of summer when you really just want to hide inside in Florida. Next, we are in the seedling area, and I just want to show off my okra. I don't have any mature okra in my garden to show off right now. I've just started these. It is late last day of June, almost July, which is just a punishingly hot time of year in Florida. And these tender little seedlings are more than happy to be growing this time of year. Okra, it's a southeastern staple for a reason. It can just take insane amounts of heat, humidity, pest disease pressure. This is a red okra that Botanical Interests offers. I love to add a little extra color, especially when we get into the hot summer season and my options for vegetables and their colors start to sort of dwindle. Nice bright red okra is a lovely departure, lovely colorful pop in my recipes. Yes, this is a southern staple for a reason. It just is, it's absolutely definition of bulletproof for a veggie. It's one that it's really, for us in Florida, kind of, I don't want to say never too late, but you can plant this pretty late into the summer because you'll be harvesting up until fall, up until the cold, really. So definitely put okra on your list. Most people know that because it is a southeastern staple, but it's always a good one to remember. Next up is a relative of okra. This is Roselle. This is also called sorrel in the Caribbean. This is easily, you could tell it's a member of the mallow family just by the leaves. It has edible leaves, which are delightfully sour and citrusy. This is one of my go-to edible leafy greens in the summer. You can eat it raw in salads, or you can saute them up, add them to your omelets, your stir fries. And Roselle or sorrel is going to make these bright red calyces or modified petal sheaths in the fall. Until the fall, they're basically going to just become nice, tall, leafy green, sort of semi-shrubs. Then they're gonna look like large okra plants. And then they're going to start flowering, and then when their flowers fade, they're going to leave behind these sort of modified petal covering called calyxes, and those are what are known as the Florida cranberry. It's absolutely not related to vaccinium, to any cranberry, but it is made into a cranberry sauce substitute in Florida. It can also be made into chutneys and into tea. In Spanish, it's called jamaica. It's spelled like Jamaica, but it's called jamaica. And it's made into like a tart, tangy red tea that is very rich in vitamin C, absolutely delicious. So I have a whole half a field of Roselle planted here because I really love this stuff. And it's just, this is a great crop for Florida because it wants as much intense heat as possible. It does better when the temperatures are extremely hot. So I'm going to give them what they want. They're growing here through June, July, August, September, October, and then around November, I'll be harvesting the calyces. Here we are in my watermelon patch. Watermelon is a crop native to Africa. It is well adapted to have some extreme heat tolerance. Here's the thing about watermelon. We do try to grow them earlier in the spring in Florida because summer rains are pretty intense here, and a sudden heavy rain can crack, burst, or at the very best make the fruit tastes pretty bland. So I do try to get my watermelon planted earlier in the season, but I have still got these watermelons singing through the peak of summer. They look beautiful, they taste amazing. And I've also got some cowpeas in this field. Now let's talk about the edible gourds, also native to Africa. These are incredibly heat tolerant. They can take just an insane amount of heat. They're going to produce profusions of these delicious fruit, which tastes to me a lot like a zucchini or summer squash. I don't waste my time growing zucchini or summer squash in Florida. I don't like spending the time trying to get the timing right, spraying. You can do it, it can be done. You have to get the timing nailed just right in spring, but I would prefer to just grow something a lot easier, and that for me is the edible gourds. So this is called a cucuzza gourd. Apparently the leaves, the young leaves apparently are edible. I've never bothered to try to eat them, but I think they're called tenerumi in Italy. And these maybe get put into soups. I've yet to try that. But any of the ancient zucchini recipes in Italy actually were calling for edible gourd, and they've been adapted for zucchini and summer squash because zucchini and summer squash are a New World or Native American crop, and this is from Africa. So when we are talking about a very old Italian recipe, pre-Columbian, they were actually eating edible gourd, and edible gourd is still popular in Italy today. It's also, of course, popular in Africa, and for gardeners in super south who are in the know, they know that this is a top choice. If you want a zucchini summer squash in the summer, you've got to be growing one of these edible gourds. Another alternative to this would be the loofah gourd. Here is a companion planting of yucca or cassava, which is going to take quite a long season to mature. And then in between those plants, because they get planted pretty far apart, in between those plants, I've got cowpeas. Now cowpeas are a top choice for a Florida summer because, again, African crop can take an incredible amount of heat and humidity. Not really finding any issues with pests or disease on these. If you catch them small enough, they're indistinguishable from a regular old green bean. So you can eat them at green bean stage like this, or you can allow the pods to dry and you can crack them open and eat them as a dried bean like this. I have come through a few times every day and I just pick the dried pods and I'm saving them up. And by the end of summer, I will have a nice little stash of cowpeas so I can make some beans and rice kind of recipes. So another reason we love cowpeas, it loves the heat, it loves the humidity. It makes delicious food, and it also is a legume, so it adds nitrogen to the soil. So we are feeding our soil over the summer. We have options here in Florida. You could leave your soil bare. You know, all of your European style or your temperate crops could be finished out by June, and then you're leaving your soil empty and bare. It's gonna get covered in weeds. You might lose your topsoil blowing off to wind, or you can cover it in something like a cover crop or a productive main crop that also serves as a cover crop, like cowpeas, and they're going to add nitrogen to your soil. They're going to suppress weeds from creeping in. So this is a highly useful plant to have in your garden over the summer in Florida. If you have no idea what to do with, say, a raised bed and you want to put something in over the heat of summer in Florida, even if you are a snowbird gardener, you're gonna be gone for a few months, just throw some cowpeas in. It's a perfect hands-off cover crop, especially if you have a little automated irrigation, or you can at least get to your beds occasionally to water them. But they're pretty drought tolerant too. Here's just another example of the bulletproof zinnia. This is a dwarf variety that I planted. I popped these in all over my property this spring, and they've just been bursting with color, singing through tons of heat. I forgot to turn the irrigation on in this bed for a while I was turning it over to a second crop. And this zinnia plant has not had any complaints. In fact, it's just been blooming prolifically. So another major points for the zinnias, they really can take it all. Now, this is the last one of the season, but it's late June and I'm picking the very last of my melons. I had a fabulous melon year. See, I just started to get maybe a little bird predation on these, but I had 0 pest or diseases on my melons this year. I believe that's thanks to the cold winter that we had, cold for Florida. And this is another one. I mean, they're not going to stand up through July, August in Florida, but at least until June, we're getting beautiful, aromatic, silky sweet cantaloupes. Here is a section of garden that is utterly unfazed by this intense heat wave. These are my grow bags full of gingers, turmerics. I believe I have a cardamom here and maybe a galangal, but definitely a lot of ginger and turmeric in these beds. And they couldn't be happier with the heat. I do have them in a under the shade of a camphor tree. I have this nice camphor tree that provides shade in my backyard, and the roots are aggressive. I would never be able to get a dug in-ground garden under this tree, but what I've done is I've situated my grow bags under here to take advantage of the shade, but not interfere or have to compete with its roots. This is a best case scenario planting zone for any of these rhizomatic herbs. They want tons of heat, they want plenty of humidity, but they also don't want to be in the full sun. So that is the perfect place for all of my gingers, turmerics, cardamom, and galangal. Now my tomatoes are long done, but I do want to show off basil. It looks ugly, but it has still got so much culinary life in it. I just made a huge batch of pesto with a bunch of, frankly, ugly looking but delicious tasting basil, and it made a perfect pesto. I went cheapy with my pesto. I did not do pine nuts. I did sunflower seeds and just a little Parmesan cheese, a little lemon juice, olive oil, salt, and some roasted garlic from my garlic harvest this season, and it made gorgeous pesto. Basil can take insane abuse here in Florida over the summer, and it will get uglier. It's not gonna look like that super soft foliage, large leaf Genovese. It's gonna get kind of ragged and ugly, but it still tastes fabulous. Here is the only tomato on the property that looks even remotely decent. This is the Everglades tomato, and look how ridiculously tiny this thing is. That's it. That is the tomato variety that is native to our region. It is well adapted to heat and humidity. This plant is absolutely massive. It is covered in fruit. They still taste good even in the middle of summer. They are prolific reseeders, so once you plant an Everglades tomato, you'll always have them. The downside is, of course, their size is just not much bang for your buck. But they're bursting with tomato flavor. And this time of year, when I cannot get a regular old tomato to grow to save my life, I am relying on Everglades tomatoes to scratch that itch. If you are a Florida or a super southern gardener and you really struggle to have tomatoes in midsummer, just get one Everglades tomato and you're gonna be totally set. Yum. Here is a more flamboyant cousin of the cowpea. This is the long bean. Look how insane this is. This isn't even a super long one. I've seen them up to 4 feet long. It's crazy. The long bean is very much related to cowpeas. It's really just a long variety of cowpea. So it does all of the incredible virtues I was extolling about cowpea. Same exact with the long bean, fixing nitrogen, improving the soil, super heat and humidity tolerant, the whole nine. I love long bean. They look super cool when they're grown on a trellis. They look like little stalactites or stalagmites coming from the top of the cave. So they look super neat. And just another one that you've got to try in your hot weather summer garden. Here are my metal raised beds. I've got absolutely nothing happening in here right now, but I've just seeded some Brassica juncea. It is a mustard green, and it is known to kill off the root knot nematode, because I believe I have what's beginning a root knot nematode problem in my soil here. So I'm gonna get ahead of it by planting a heat-tolerant, heat-loving cover crop that's gonna go over the next month and a half. I'm gonna let it grow up, and then I'm gonna chop it into the soil and let it bake in. And once it is exposed to light, it will kill off the root knot nematode. And then by time my fall crops are ready to go in the ground, my soil will essentially have been biofumigated and ready to provide some beautiful nutrition to my fall crops. I'm going to leave you with this one last bulletproof flower. This is flowering purslane. It's related to portulaca, moss rose. Any of these, they have the most beautiful, vibrant flowers. There's actually many varieties with different colors, and the plants are insane. I mean, this one actually just reseeded randomly. I didn't even plant it. And it has taken on my hanging baskets beautifully. Nothing would grow in these hanging baskets over the summer. I don't have irrigation on them. I was letting them kind of cool off for a month or so when the heat of the summer was just too much. And then these beautiful flowering purslane came in to add some much needed color to my drab raised bed garden right now. Absolutely a gorgeous choice, a carefree choice, bulletproof summertime plant. Definitely one you could put into your hanging baskets, your window boxes, anywhere that is just, they love gravelly, crummy quality soil. As long as the soil is well drained, they are happy. So just another selection for you to rely on when you need some color in the heat of summer. This concludes our Florida heat wave garden tour. I hope you found some bulletproof selections for your summertime garden. Depending on your location, you may be able to get these seeds in the ground right now for the rest of the summer, or you may have to save these selections for next summer. Either way, jot them down, make your notes, and happy gardening, you hot weather growers.